Do you know why more and more men nowadays no longer need women? The reason is simple. Men spend their entire lives being tied down by money and squeezed by responsibilities. These days, women talk about feelings with wealthy men and talk about money with poor men. A woman earning 2,000 or 3,000 a month can use her credit card to travel, while a man earning over 10,000 a month might still be considered poor. Why? Because he has to pay his mortgage, car loans, support his parents, and cover his children's education expenses. At the end of the year, he can't even afford to buy himself decent clothes and still gets complaints from his wife that life is boring. Men spend their whole lives working hard to earn money, but in the end, the assets go to the children, the salary card goes to the wife, and all that's left for them are grievances and the sweat of their labor. And even so, they still have to smile and say, "I'm not tired, it's fine."
As you can tell, I date myself when I talk about the video games that give me nostalgia. In this case, it's Frogger. It's a game that swallowed many quarters of mine when I went to the arcade, and if I wasn't very careful, I could go through a big pocket full of quarters very quickly. The premise of the game is pretty simple. You're a frog, you try to cross the street. Once you cross the street, you cross the river, and then you get to one of the holes. And once you get to one of the holes, it restarts and you end up right back where you started on the side of the road. You cross the road again, then you cross the river again, and then you go to a different hole. And then you start back at the beginning again. And as you continue to do this, the cars in the street go faster, more monsters appear, the turtles and the alligators on the river move faster and they start sinking, and overall it's just resetting a game of getting to the holes, but it's just getting more and more difficult to do it as you progress in the game. Interesting that that's kind of an analogy for something that many guys can relate to these days.
For now. Cooking with
I feel like a few things for when y'all don't date properly, like we're trying to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
And a lot of men, especially like black men, y'all really don't know what y'all bring to the table outside of being providers. Like, so you can't date properly because you don't know who you are outside of being able to provide. Like, so y'all joke and say, well, I am the table, I bring the whole table.
Second point. In reality, more than 90% of women dislike or even look down on their own husbands. They complain their husbands lack capability or see them only as tools for earning money. Especially those honest, hard-working men who know how to live frugally, they are often not valued by their wives.
But that's all you know yourself to do. Like, you see what I'm saying? And then when you don't provide, or you meet a woman who don't need you to provide all of those things, you lack creativity to date her properly.
This means that husbands are looked down upon either because they lack skills or because they are not romantic. Even worse, some women claim their husband's incompetence is the reason for the decline in their quality of life.
The brouhaha over Cooking with Kaya is revealing a simple revelation about what most guys want in a relationship. If a woman is warm and inviting, if she cooks for us every so often, she cares about us, and she is providing us with what we are playing Frogger for in the first place, which is we want to be with her physically, then we don't really need a lot more than that. But as you can see from two women halfway across the world from each other, it is just getting more and more difficult to play Frogger for the average man.
Like, it ain't no picnics in the living room, it ain't no Netflix, it's nothing creative. You only know how to take her to a steakhouse. Like, you only know how to take her on a trip. You don't know how to create no type of other experiences for her because your identity is rooted in being a provider.
And the third and most important point. Have you noticed that in today's society, if a woman has no money, more than 90% of men would still be willing to support her? But on the flip side, if a man has no money, more than 90% of women would quickly leave, afraid of being tied to him.
And then y'all don't, and then for whatever reason, when y'all meet a woman who has been providing for herself, or she's already successful, and she's expecting you to bring more to the table, then bad.
Because of this, these men have no choice but to suffer and heal silently. No one knows what they've been through or how broken and helpless they feel. And the woman who chose to leave him? She feels nothing but disdain and shows no compassion at all. This is why many men no longer need women.
You feel like she's nagging and complaining because she wants more depth. She wants more substance. She wants a conversation.
Right.
She wants something more sentimental. And you're just trying to take her on a trip or buy her something when that is not what she's looking for.
Not what she's looking for.
Well, that's not meaningful because I can get that for myself.
Right.
They don't want to love anymore. Instead of living with such humiliation in love, they'd rather live freely and happily on their own.
If one were to make a synopsis of the game of Frogger, it could be done in one sentence. Essentially, get to the quote-unquote metaphorical whole. And once you've done it, continue to do it again, because getting to the end goal is so exciting or so worth it that no matter how much more difficult it becomes, how many more obstacles there are, you continue to want to get to the quote-unquote metaphorical whole. And this is all good and dandy while the game seems to be worthwhile. But what happens as more and more guys are starting to see now that it's just not worth playing the game if it's going to continue to get harder, and getting to the metaphorical whole is less and less pleasurable.
Nobody sees maintenance sex in a movie. You only see passionate sex. And while maintenance sex is extremely important in erotic couples, so not everything is always a big production. Not every meal is a 4-course meal. Some meals are just very simple home-cooked food, but they're no less pleasurable.
In my opinion, one of the biggest deterrent, maybe even the biggest deterrent for well-meaning guys who in times past would have gotten in relationships, marriages, and stayed there, is the fear that if you play the Frogger game, you do all of the work to get in the relationship, and then all of a sudden the spigot gets turned off. And it is your fault because you want the spigot to be on because that was your expectation. When all things said, it really doesn't take a lot for well-meaning, well-adjusted guys to be happy. We need Frogger. Except don't make the game more difficult. Make it easy because we've done the work to achieve the relationship. If you're going to punish the relationship, then guys are going to avoid the relationship, or better yet, avoid all of it.
What we see is just creating a set of rather unrealistic expectations. Not everybody starts sex after 18 years together just from being desirous and aroused and turned on. Sometimes you start from being willing and just open, and we'll see what happens. You're not always eating because you're hungry. Not everybody runs to the gym because they can't wait. But I've never seen somebody come back from the gym and regret. And sex is no different. And we have a kind of an exceptionalism around sex, as Marty Klein says, that is really problematic.
There's nothing particularly special about what Cooking with Kaya is doing. She's essentially tapping into that will in men to play Frogger if there's a woman that is his ideal on the other side of the fast flowing logs in the river and the snakes going across the median and the ever faster cars and trucks that are keeping that frog from getting to his destination. Of course, it's a metaphorical quote-unquote whole, but if you marry a woman, many men are so excited about that because I don't have to worry about going to clubs anymore. I don't have to worry about doing the rigmarole of having game and all of that other stuff. I have my woman that I can care about, and she's going to cater to my needs as I cater to hers. It's intoxicating to want that. But as we get older, and men across the world are starting to realize, is that if this whole process of playing Frogger is just going to get harder and harder and harder to get less and less and less reward, if there's even a reward at all, then why play the game? Especially for guys who have done the dutiful thing and they've been the providing parent, the providing husband, and things go awry and the woman walks away and says, "You're terrible. You should have did X, Y, Z. You weren't romantic enough. You didn't attend to my needs, and you're terrible." That is no incentive to get back on that road, on that riverbank, and keep playing Frogger. In a way, there are more and more guys just saying, this Frogger game's kind of stupid. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care, guys.